Hello everyone, I'm Ed from Old Gold Racing, and I'm putting together this little video, this vignette, to announce that the day has finally arrived where everyone here at Old Gold Racing is delighted to announce our latest partnership, which is with the brilliant chaps over at Only Fools Love Horses. So we're really excited for you all to watch how this partnership grows over the coming weeks and months. And there's going to be plenty of content in the pipeline. So keep tuned and stay and enjoy yourselves.
Yes, the news is out. We are delighted to have partnered with Old Gold Racing to bring you this video. Old Gold Racing allows you to own shares in top-class racehorses, the likes of Appleway, who we will be seeing at this year's Cheltenham Festival. Owners get weekly updates, a share of any prize money, the chance to go on stable visits, and even go to the races as an owner yourself. Now, I'm an owner with Old Gold Racing. I own shares, maybe not too many, but in Big City Roller, and he's an absolute legend of a horse, and I love him so much. It's not like some syndicate where you get a paragraph once a month. I'm lucky enough to get photos, reports, video updates from the trainer almost every week. Now, Lee, £60, that's great value, isn't it?
Yeah, what value £60 is. You can get cheap race day tickets, you can get parade ring access. It's almost a family. Like when we went to Carlisle, for example, Harry, you got the trainers introducing the horses. It's a real family vibe, and it was a great day. But Ash, how can people get involved?
Yeah, look, really looking forward to this. And if anyone's interested, go over to oldgoldracing.com to find out more about the syndicate, about any shares available, and use code OFLH2024 to get 10% off your first share. That's oldgoldracing.com, OFLH2024 to get 10% off in a share of a racehorse. But look, we're really excited for this partnership. We're really looking forward to it. Should be a great crack along the way. But anyway, let's get back to the video.
Welcome to the Only Fools Love Horses channel. We have brought together some famous faces of racing to give their best Cheltenham Festival memory. Lads, my favourite Cheltenham Festival memory. Look, it was hard to match last year's golden hour, I would have said, Constitution Hill, and then the Honeysuckle, that amazing race. Obviously, Rachel Brackmore winning for the Henry de Bromhead Yard. I was managed to stand in between Harry Fry, the ecstasy and the agony as well of racing all in one, and the emotions were mad. I did also come close to seeing Sprinter Sacre on his second champion chase win, but look, I think the Honeysuckle and the golden hour last year was hard to match. Harry, what's your favourite Cheltenham Festival memory?
Well, Lee, it's a great idea that you've came up with. And do you know what? It's a bit of an emotional one for me, this one, because I'm going back to 2020 and I'm going back to Alboon Photo's Gold Cup win. It was his second Gold Cup win. And for me, it was really the last poignant memory of my uncle before he passed away. And for me, it's an emotional time. And we had probably my biggest bet ever. I think I was like 17 at the time, but it was at the time my uncle was putting my bets on. He said, Harry, I fancy this. And you know what? When he made that clattering mistake down the back, and we were thinking, oh, is he going to? And then he jumped to the lead, and luckily he held on. But for me, that's a memory that I cherish forever, and it reminds me of a great uncle. And what a horse Albion Photo was for the Donnellys and Willie Mullins.
Yeah, he's my memory isn't as poignant or as emotional as that one. That's a fantastic memory, Harry. I'm going back to 2017. I think it was the first day I went to the Cheltenham Festival. I've been waiting years and years to come out of school to actually go to it. My parents said every single year, you can't go, watch it on the TV. First day I went was the Champion Hurdle Day in 2017. And as many people know, the newsstand at Cheltenham Festival, at Cheltenham, and the tote window that's in the newsstand, which overlooks the parade ring. Me and my dad were stood there 10 minutes before the Champion Hurdle, and he said, which one do you fancy in this race? And look, I wasn't studying form at this point. I was, AP McCoy retired, so that was my only form line going into a race gone. And I just thought, what horse do I think? And out of nowhere, genuinely can't tell you why, I just went, Bouvardere, like that horse. And Bouvardere 5-1, Noel Feely. The feeling I got with seeing Noel Feely pulling double around the bend, that was fantastic. And I have a question for you lads before we hand over to some famous racing faces. Who went off favourite for that 2017 Champion Hurdle? Anyone know?
Oh,
it was. It
Go
was the
on,
Will Mullins, the mare, was it?
No. Harry, I'll give you 5 seconds.
Nah, honestly, I couldn't tell you. I've got a couple in my mind, but I don't want to make myself look an absolute idiot. So go on, have to tell us.
It was a JP horse trained by Alan King. Ended up going and being a 3 mile 6 horse.
Yanworth.
Yanworth is the correct answer.
Wow, oh, of course it was.
He went off favourite that year, but Bouvardere won, and he became my instantly favourite horse of all time. But enough about our memories. They are fantastic, but we've got some fantastic racing faces and some equally fantastic memories. So we'll pass on to them for what should be a fantastic video.
Hello lads, Dave, Cheltenham Mental here. I really appreciate getting the invite for a video for my greatest Cheltenham Festival memory. The fact that you guys are putting this together is awesome. I love everything to do with Cheltenham, even more so those special moments that draw us back in. The biggest moment for Cheltenham for me, and will never be surpassed, is Big Bucks' third World Hurdle in 2011. This was a time where I'd sort of transitioned a bit more from greyhound racing into horse racing, but as a Cheltenham Festival fanatic, I couldn't stop going. I couldn't stop going to watch this horse run either. I followed him through his season. Obviously, there was the big build-up between him and Grand Cru, big match-off, and he put him in his place. The best part is Ruby dropped his whip, so there is no doubt that it is 90% the horse, right? He had his quirks. He used to eyeball his opponents. He just looked like an absolute warrior. You could see the exact same thing if you went and saw him in the pre-parade ring, which is what I used to do. You could get an eyeball from Big Bucks as if to say, don't worry, lad, I got this. And that's exactly what he would have felt through to Ruby Walsh when that whip went, don't worry, Ruby, I got this. And it was never in doubt.
Here today with Quevega. It's actually giving me a very funny look just there now. And Claire, the lovely Claire, and Stan's taking the big video. So my favourite horse of all time would have to be herself, Quevega.
And how many times did she win at Cheltenham?
6 times at Cheltenham, so she has the record.
And she's also the Dame of Facile Vega, isn't it?
She is. She's the Dame of Facile Vega and Aurora Vega. There's a few more here, and well looked after and stood here. So a big thanks to everybody here. The lovely Claire here is keeping her handle on herself. So, I don't know.
Yeah, so exciting times anyway to follow the rest of her progeny. We have a few full brothers and sisters of Facile Vega to come through, don't we?
We do indeed, yeah,
so
absolutely. So if they're
half as good as him, you'd be happy.
Quevega, you'd be more than happy, you know. But look at, she is once in a lifetime mare for us. And look, my heart lies with Quevega, so she would be my favourite.
Hi, Gavin Lynch here. My favourite Cheltenham moment ever came in 2004. It's hard to believe it was 20 years ago when Rule Supreme won the RSA. My brother John had a 1/3 share in the horse along with Tom Fallon and John Fallon. It's interesting how they came to own the horse. My brother went with my late dad John to the sales. My dad was good at picking out horses, and he was trying to get some knowledge from dad, and dad was saying about different things, about their ears and their head and everything else. But one thing he liked was a horse that walked really well, where the back legs came through past the front legs when they're walking. So they were walking around the yard, it was at Goffs or Tattersall's, and they seen this horse, and dad said, see him? He said, that's the way a horse should walk. So they looked at his page, and they ended up buying him, and that was Rule Supreme. But myself and herself weren't dating that long. We flew over to Cheltenham that morning, and she said to me on the airplane, are you sure he's definitely going to win? Because everybody in Mayo was backed it, and my dad, or her dad rather, and everybody at his work had backed it. And he was 25-1. I said, are you mad? He's not even a good jumper. I said, like, if he's in the first 3, we'd be very happy. The first race was bad. The biggest bet I'd ever had in a horse was English Drever. He didn't get the best of rides, beaten a half a length. And then 35 minutes later, we were in heaven because we're watching the race. We stayed near the parade ring, watched it on the big screen. And as they came down the hill, David Casey rode it because Ruby didn't get on that well with the horse. And jumped 2 out. Then he went out a camera shot. And then his nose appeared, and between then those 2 furlongs, I lost my voice in the last 2 furlongs. We were just roaring him home. Brilliant celebrations. Then we were brought to the champagne bar beside the parade ring. Then we had a lovely meal that night, and we ended up at a nightclub. So we had an amazing day. So anyway, that was Rule Supreme 20 years ago, winning the RSA. A day we'll never forget.
And Sam Hart here, giving you my favourite Cheltenham Festival memory. Now, there are many that I could give you, like I'm sure a few people in these videos would have, but my first appearance at the festival has to be my number 1. Back in 2014, Gold Cup Day. Good group of us heading down from Epsom on a minibus. It was a friend's birthday, I believe, and and I was staying at his house. Now, before getting on that minibus in the morning on Gold Cup Day, his mum came out and said, back Lord Windermere in the Gold Cup. And we said, why would we do that? And she said there was a bloke on the radio. I still don't know who this bloke was. There was a bloke on the radio who said that this horse would win, and he was very convincing about it as well. So we got there. We all liked Bobsworth, who went off a short price favourite in that Gold Cup, but we all had a good win bet on Lord Windermere as well. And if you have not seen the finish of the 2014 Gold Cup where Lord Windermere wins, it is probably not the best quality Gold Cup, but probably one of the most dramatic Gold Cup finishes you will ever see. We lifted Cheltenham. I'd say we were probably the only group of lads there who lifted Cheltenham that day. He wasn't fancied at all, Lord Windermere. He was a big price on the day, but Davy Russell gave the horse a hell of a ride, and we went home back to Epsom on the minibus and had some party that evening. So the 2014 Gold Cup has to be my favourite Cheltenham Festival memory.
Hello everyone, Paul Callahan here. It's very difficult for me to pinpoint one Cheltenham Festival memory as my favourite when I've got so many. From Wither or Wit bounding up the Cheltenham Hill to land the bumper in 1996 under Willie Mullins, to Best Mate landing his third success in the Gold Cup. I was stood on the landing side of the final fence and I got so close, if I stuck out my hand I could have high-fived Lenzio as he and Sir Rembrandt chased in vain. I can't not mention Galileo, the Polish version, who gained festival honours in 2002. Since landing in Tom George's from Poland, I did the majority of groundwork and schooling, so for me, he's a horse and that's a time in my life that I'll never forget. But my favourite Cheltenham Festival memory came in 2006, when I rode in the National Hunt Chase for trainer Henry Daly and owner Robert Kirkland. I rode a big French horse called Mage d'Estival, and unfortunately for us, the Golden Description was officially good, but on a big French horse, it certainly rode on the quick side of good. We hunted round for a circuit or so, but unfortunately we could tell our fate on the landing side of the third fence when things were happening a bit too fast. But to experience that, the tension of the weigh room, you heard so many stories. Senior jockeys would tell you, Cheltenham, it can be your best friend or your worst enemy. And I certainly experienced that. But the tension in the weigh room was something that I'd never experienced before. The silence and that tension was cut by a couple of poor jokes by valets Phil Taylor and Chris Maud. More tension at the start, more tension in the parade ring and whatnot. But it was an experience I'll never forget.
Hi gents, thanks for having me on. Nick Lightfoot Racing TV here. My favourite Cheltenham Festival memory. I'm not going to do this just to be different or going against the grain. But although I've been lucky enough to cover the festival, working it on Channel 4 Racing for many years, and subsequently Racing TV as well, covering the build-up and of course the main event from the studio. My favourite memory is actually of not being at the festival, but at a different racecourse on the Wednesday of the festival back in 2005. Now I was a student at sixth form, final year of sixth form, going into A-levels, predicted grades were going to be terrible. History teacher suggested I wouldn't amount to anything. I think he was dead right, genuinely. And my good friend Chris and I nipped off school on the Wednesday afternoon, off sixth form, to go to Huntingdon, where they were racing, obviously. I can't remember what one at Huntingdon, couldn't care less. No disrespect to the runners there, but it was the day that Moscow Flyer got his championship back and beat Azertiop. Well, Chief was second. The fact that those horses had met in the Tingle Creek that season already, Well Chief and Azertiop had met at Newbury, and they were obviously having a showdown with the great Irish horse, the 11-year-old Moscow Flyer. It's just a fanciful world to even imagine those kind of horses matching up with each other and boxing clever all season. It was brilliant. The race was brilliant. Azertiop made that critical mistake, but Moscow Flyer was different class under Barry Geraghty for Jess Carrington. I just remember being at Huntingdon, and although it wasn't anywhere near as well attended as Cheltenham, of course it wasn't, I just remember the look on a few of the bookies' faces. They were gutted that Moscow had gone and won. He was the favourite on the day, and there was a roar actually, and it was just that thing. I'd attended Cheltenham before, but it was just that thing that you were watching on the big screen at Huntingdon, this sort of magical place that seemed to captivate everyone wherever they were. Huntingdon was almost the sideshow, even though it was, of course, the stage for where we were that afternoon. And for whatever reason, that just sticks in my mind. Love the work, and best of luck, you guys, for the festival itself.
Dan Overall here, and my favourite Cheltenham Festival memory comes from 2017. The first Cheltenham Festival I attended, so I was still in my infancy of getting into racing back then. It was still maybe a growing passion. I was studying for Cheltenham, but it wasn't the absolute peak of my interest just yet, but I was growing into it. But I was there for the Tuesday and the Wednesday, and the last race on the Wednesday, the champion bumper, and a certain flying mare called Fiona. Also, I was really keen on, I was really hopeful for her chances, and then watching it live at the start, it was a standing start, she just got left absolutely stranded. She was last of all. You basically figured she's got absolutely no chance, and for most of the way she was still last, buried on the inside. Turning for home, she was still about 12 or 13th, and then she was staying on. And the commentary line I'll always remember is Fiona beginning to fly from a different parish. She came wide. You're thinking, oh, she's going to get up for second or third. She somehow just grew wings to get up to win under a remarkable ride from Jamie Codd. Just a remarkable race in general. And it's one of those where even now, if I've had a bad day or a bad punting day or anything, I can go back and watch that race and it just still brings a smile to my face. She was a remarkable mare. It's so sad we lost her so soon after that, but it's a race I still hold very fondly. I love watching it back. And realistically speaking, if it wasn't for that race, maybe I wouldn't have been as interested in racing as I am now. I think everyone has one of those horses and one of those races where it just kick-starts your interest in racing to another level. The champion bumper in 2017, and Fiona was mine.
Hi, it's Jake Price here, and my favourite Cheltenham Festival memory comes from the 2017 edition of the National Hunt Chase, and this is the day that Tiger Roll really announced himself as a staying star. Now, at the time, his most notable victory had come in the Triumph Hurdle a couple of years prior, but he really had to prove himself over this 4-mile trip in the National Hunt Chase, and he did so. Of course, he walked through a couple of fences on the way in typical Tiger Roll fashion at the time. But it was a very easy success. I'd had my £20 each way on the track in cash, and it just made for a very memorable first day at the Cheltenham Festival. And obviously his subsequent exploits in the Grand Nationals, etc., just make it even more sweet. So that is my favourite Cheltenham Festival memory.
Hello, this is Simon Knott, and I've been honoured to be asked to give my favourite Cheltenham Festival moment. Now, that has to be the first time I actually worked there. That was 1992, working with Roy and Jack Lynn down in Lower Tats. I've been working for them for a few years before, but never got the chance to go to the festival. I was third man, and Johnny Boy and Dave Sims always got the job, but they wanted an extra man in 1992. The trouble was, things were going horribly wrong for the Lynns. They were doing their absolute cobblers, and they used to like to bet tight. Going into Gold Cup Day, it was quite miserable, so I escaped and had a couple of 45 pints of Guinness with the Hurricane team. Came back in, and it all went right. Duke of Monmouth won the first at 33-1. Tipping Tim won the second at 20. And then Cool Ground beat the fellow in the Gold Cup at 25-1. All of a sudden, Cheltenham was back on, and we were looking at a bonus. We got a bonus as well. But you had to check it wasn't Moody Notes back in those days. There was lots of them flying around.
Good afternoon. My name is Ben Keith, and I'm a bookmaker, and I bet under the name of Star Sports. This painting was done by Peter Spence, and he went to Cheltenham and did it actually from the Ladbrokes box, where he looked across the racecourse. And in this painting, you can see the whole story of a race. You can see the horses starting there. You can see the horses being paraded, coming out before the race. You can see this horse here is about to win the race, and you can see the betting ring. And that's me there. He put me in the painting. I commissioned him to do it. Next to me at the time was Julie Williams, right? And here is Star Sports' pitch, and we have another pitch on the rails where we bet here, but I run this pitch here. Now, this is where I am now, but I've been asked to say what my favourite memory of Cheltenham is. Now, I think that you've always got to remember where you're from and where you started and what really pulled you in, and that was the moment where there was no turning back from. Now, over here, where we can't see, is the silver ring. Now, one man who was very, very kind to me, two people, was Steve Todd. He was a Geordie bookie. He had pictures at the races. And Neil Channing, the professional poker player. And they used to make a book at the races, and they had pictures in the silver ring. And when I was 18 years old, Neil Channing, his nickname's Dot said to me, come to the racing, you come for the week, and you can either work the bag, clerk, be the floor man, whatever, and I had a share of the book. Anyway, I'm going to tell you my favourite memory of Cheltenham. and it was the last race of the week, and we were breaking even, we were losing, we were winning, we were breaking even, and I never remember the name of horses, but I remember the name of this one. There was a horse called Blowing Wind, and if I believe rightly, it was trading between the 15 to 8 and 9 to 4 mark, 15 to 8 out to 9 to 4, in and out, and we were laying it and laying it and laying it, and we stood it, and it was the biggest liability of the week. And it came up the hill and it won. But guess what? I was absolutely taken in, and I was never looking back. And from that day on, I worked from helping out on a pitch in the Silver Ring at Cheltenham to get my own pitch on the front row in Tats and right up at the top of the rails. So to tell my story, my favourite memory of Cheltenham is when I lost lots of money at the time, a hell of a lot, probably every penny I had on Blowing Wind, but I came back to win it back.
Don Cossack winning the 2016 Cheltenham Gold Cup. I fell in love with this horse when I was just getting into the sport in 2011. He won a Grade 2 bumper at Navan in 2011. It was just an unbelievable performance. Nina Carberry gave him low stew, showed a really good attitude to just collar the leader late on. I then obviously followed him through his novice hurdle and novice chase and first year in open company, where it certainly didn't go to plan. He finished third in the Ryanair chase, but he really stamped his authority in the Melling chase under AP McCoy at Aintree when I was there, won by about 20 lengths, beating Q-Card that day. He then proved that was no fluke. He then won the Punchestown Gold Cup on his next start, beating Jack Adam, Road to Riches and Q-Card, and then was set on his Gold Cup quest. It might not be the best Gold Cup looking back in the benefit of hindsight, but to come back after falling in the King George, it was the only time I've been there on Boxing Day, and to see him fall 2 out, I'm convinced he would have won that day, but I know others don't think so. It was just great for him to then come back from that. For him to win 16 of his 27 races at the top level, I think he was just a fantastic horse, and that day will live long in my memory.
Hi lads, my favourite Cheltenham Festival memory would probably be the Ultima 2022. I just think you can never beat that kind of first huge winner, and I think at the time it was just me and the 6 other lads that owned Korak. We were just going there with a dream, and we were all just feeling like chancers, hoping that we could kind of just experience a day at one of these big festivals. And I think to come away with the win when it was so unexpected really just made it such a special memory for all of us. So yeah, hopefully we can go back this year and get the 3rd year of success at the festival. But yeah, that would be my favourite festival memory.
Hello guys. Look, I suppose without a doubt the race for me that sticks out in my mind is the incredible match race between Denman and Kauto Star in that Gold Cup, that famous Gold Cup, where the two of them went off head to head against each other. Well, it wasn't really a match race as such, but it was really looked like it was only 2 could win, and that's the way it turned out. They were first and second. It was a great event. The hype attached to it was going on for months and months, and you probably had a little deep down suspicion that it wouldn't take place, but it did. It went ahead, and which was great testament to the trainer, to be fair, that he let the 2 horses take their chances. And it was like a grinding horse like the Denman, a great horse, against probably a classier, like more speedier horse than Kauto Star. And it was a race of the ages to me. The atmosphere there was absolutely incredible. I've never experienced anything like it in my life. I don't expect to experience anything like it in the future. And even the aftermath of it, the people like Harry Finley and his entourage, the scenes were terrific. It was just a brilliant race and it was a brilliant day. It was a great advertisement for racing, and something that you don't see hardly ever in this day and age. Look, that for me, without question, was the best race at the Cheltenham Festival in my mind.
I've been lucky enough to have ringside seats for some really special Cheltenham Festival memories over the last 20 years. First of all, in my role as a runner for Channel 4 Racing, and then as a reporter for Acadia, the French racing channel, and finally now for ITV Racing. So you might think it would be pretty hard to pick my favourite Cheltenham Festival memory, but actually it was pretty easy, because one of the first years, I think probably the first year I ever went to Cheltenham was 2003, when we had a runner in the Royal and Sun Alliance Novices Hurdle, and we went over for the day for the runner, and unfortunately it didn't pan out as planned for him on the day, but the race was won by a hardy Eustace, with Kieran Kelly on board for the wonderful Desi Hughes. And unfortunately, Kieran, who is a good friend to a lot of us, we lost him in August of that year after injuries in a race fall, and it was a very tough time for a lot of us in Irish racing at the time. And then the following year, Hardy Eustace came back and honoured his memory with success in his first champion hurdle under Conor O'Dwyer, and the scenes in the winners' enclosure afterwards were pretty memorable, very emotional, something that really honoured the memory of Kieran and showed how much he meant to all of us and to all of the Desi Hughes team. So I think that will always stand in my memory as one of the most special moments. It really felt serendipitous, and although Rachel Blackmore and Honeysuckle came close last year for the Bromhead family on levels of emotions, I think Hardy Eustace just had something special, and he's always been a special horse for me over the years.
Hi guys, my favourite Gold Cup memory is when Imperial Commander beat Denman and Kauto Star. We had a horse with Tom George at the time, and I met Paddy Brennan for the first time that week and had a chat with him about it. And 2 days later, he was on the 8-1 shot Imperial Commander, and everybody was talking about Denman and Kauto. And what I remember is when Paddy crossed the line and went to the 75,000 people amassed in the stands and just went, shh. I thought that was a brilliant moment, and definitely my favourite Gold Cup memory.
Hi there, my name is James Stevens. I'm the Racing Post West Country correspondent, and my favourite Cheltenham Festival memory would be the brilliant 2018 Gold Cup win for Native River. Native River was my favourite horse. I think he epitomised everything that was brilliant about jump racing. He was back year after year. He was determined, he was brave, he was a brilliant jumper, and he was popular, which you don't often find in the sport. I loved Native River really from his novice hurdling days, the ability he showed. He won the Hennessy Gold Cup as a second season novice. Really fancied him that day, and it's a race that's important to me because I was brought up in Newbury. Won the Welsh Grand National, another race which has a big connection to me because I've got family in South Wales, and went on to run the Gold Cup and finished third. A lot of people thought that was his chance, but I stuck by him. I was there the day he won the Denman Chase to set up his Gold Cup bid, was really excited about it. And the day of the Gold Cup was my first Cheltenham Gold Cup I worked, so it's always going to be special to me. That's my personal connection to him from the race itself. It was just one of the most epic races I've ever witnessed. I was down the start, I was down at the very front watching it, and to see it unfold, seeing the big screen where Mike Bite was looming, the roar of a crowd, everyone thinking what is going to happen, and to see as those final stages ran out, the determination of this horse to not be passed was utterly epic. And I think regardless of who you backed or who you fancied, it was completely enthralling, and it was one of the most epic races I can remember, and particularly my association, it gave me such a huge buzz, and I've never had a day on a racecourse like it. It was utterly incredible. Cheltenham is a special place. I'm lucky to work at many big meetings here at Cheltenham and seen some amazing things, but for me that is the one that I always go back to. Native River's Gold Cup, an absolute epic.
Hi everyone, Tom Bull from Racing TV here. My favourite Cheltenham Festival memory has to be from 2012. I would have been in my late teens, and it was my first proper sample of the Cheltenham Festival atmosphere, and the year in which Sizing Europe catapulted his way to Champion Chase glory by 5 lengths in fantastic fashion. What a horse he was. And back in second was Big Zeb. I was on him, I think, but he was no match for the winner that day. Also on that afternoon, First Lieutenant beat Rock on Ruby in that classic Neptune, now the Ballymore, of course. That race turned out and worked out pretty well, didn't it? And Boston's Angel won the RSA in fantastic style at 16-1. Those were the days, and that's probably my favourite memory. So much fun was had, and such great racing as well.
Good morning, Sid Hazy speaking. My favourite Cheltenham Festival moment takes us back to, I've got two, but I'll tell you quickly. 1998, Cool Dawn, Robert Olner winning the Gold Cup. Excellent achievement, local trainer at the time, and I was lucky enough to do some work out there when I was younger on the gallops, so that was great. And quickly, there was another moment. He comes second in the 2004 Gold Cup with a horse called Sir Rembrandt to Best Mate, who was obviously on his third Gold Cup win then, but I thought, you know, what an achievement for a local man. So yeah, Robert Olner, he's a bit of a hero around here, and someone I looked up to and respected, and he's dearly missed. So also, yeah, raise a glass to Mr. Robert Olner.
Hi lads, Mighty Mick Quinn here, and my most cherished memory of Cheltenham is 1994. I know I don't look that old, but I took my brother sadly no longer with us, for a day out on the Wednesday Queen Mother Champion Chase Day. And I said, look, let's go down the last and have a look at the race. We went down the last and we were lucky enough to witness Viking, Flagship, Deep Sensation and Travado all jumping the last 3 abreast and then galloping up that hill towards the winning line. Me and our kid had a few quid on Viking Flagship and won a right few quid that day on the Wednesday. It's a cherished memory of Cheltenham. I'll always remember for a quality race, but at the same time in remembrance of my brother as well. I'll never forget that day, 1994. What a day!
Hello everybody, welcome to Dundalk. My favourite Cheltenham Festival memory goes back to 2006. This is the time actually before I ever worked at horse racing, Celtic Tiger years in Ireland. Jesus, we had loads of money, lads. All on the building site, half day for the festivals, you know, into the pub, into the bookies. We backed a horse called Hairy Molly. I won't tell you why I backed a horse by that name, but 33 to 1 for Joe Crowley. Paul Carberry rode it. A gang from Listowel owned John and Kay Sayers, Joe Gearan. Hairy Molly, 33 to 1, lads. I tell you, I don't think I've backed a 33 to 1 winner since then. But yeah, 2006. Hairy Molly, the Grade 1 champion bumper. That's my favourite Cheltenham Festival memory.
Hello to my favourite 3 wise men of the Only Fools Love Horses. And this is Donna's May, Dawn, from the Dawn Approach Pod and Digitips, seeing many sides of many tracks, both sides of the pond. And my favourite, all-time favourite, and it'll be hard to ever beat it, Cheltenham memory is Honey, Honey, winning at Cheltenham last year in the mares. When she went up that hill with Rachel and the crowd began to roar, the tingles, the emotion. Our national treasure, our queen, Honeysuckle, was just amazing. She ran for the de Bromheads, she ran for the people, she ran for Rachel, she ran for everyone. She was just incredible. The golden hour of racing. And if that's the best racing we ever see in this lifetime, aren't we lucky? This is what it's about. This is the magic. This is the dreams. This is why we love horses and we love racing. Honey, honey, I'm eternally grateful for that magic Cheltenham memory.
Hi boys, it's Liz here, and my favourite Cheltenham Festival memory goes back 15 years, where we find the 2009 champion hurdle, which may be a surprise to some, but I mainly remember it because A, I was there, and B, it was such an exciting race where we found 3 jockey greats in Ruby, AP and Barry battling it out over the last. And it was Punjabi, the 22 to 1 shot, who gave Nicky Henderson his first win in this race for 22 years, with a previous Triumph hurdle winner Celestial Halo back in second, and the following year's champion hurdle winner Binocular back in third, who went off favourite at the time. Punjabi had a beautiful white blaze. He only ran 3 times before this race. He was hit by injury and snow abandonments at the time, but there was only a neck and a head which separated them in the end. It was a cracker of a race, and that is my favourite Cheltenham Festival memory.
Joe from the Final Fight podcast. My favourite Cheltenham Festival memory has got to be Champ winning the 2020 RSA. You know, looking beaten 2 out and then absolutely flying home after the last to collar Monella Indo and pass Aloha along the way was absolutely brilliant. And looking back on that, you know, in there you've got a multiple Ryanair winner and a Gold Cup winner, was absolutely brilliant. You know, I was cheering him on. I was absolutely buzzing when he crossed the line. So for me, Champ, RSA 2020, what a performance.
Paul Ferguson here, author of Jumpers to Follow and the Weatherby's Cheltenham Festival Betting Guide. My favourite Cheltenham Festival memory, it's a difficult one just to nominate one. There's been so many good winners over my time of visiting Cheltenham, including the likes of Masterminded when he won the Champion Chase of 5-year-old, which I still rate as probably the single best performance I've seen down at Cheltenham over the years, despite having witnessed the brilliance of Vitor when he won the JLT as it was then, now the Turners, and the Ryanair. But I'll go for 2007 Denman winning the RSA Chase as it was then. Obviously now it's the Brown Advisory, but there was a couple of us who have been backing him throughout the season from before he'd even jumped the fence in public, and it was a pretty good day once he got the job done and he got over the line.
Hello, this is Lee from Racing with Pride.
My favourite Cheltenham memory is a new story winning the Glenfarclas Cross Country Chase in 2010, ridden by AP Heskin, who was then a £7 claimer. He beat a stellar field including Lamy and Lac Dudal, Gardshon Petra, Munker Hostin. He was 12 years old. AP Heskin was a £7 claimer and put up £4 overweight. So it was an amazing performance. He was a real character. He was one of my favourite all-time horses. He came in the first 5 of the Irish National 5 times, and that would have been 6 times if he hadn't been unseated and hampered 3 out 1 year. He was an amazing horse. He never did more than he needed to. He ran 110 times and only won 6 times, including a Cork National. He ran in 2 Beecher chases. He was in every staying chase you could name in Ireland and did an amazing job all of his life. Never did attack more than he needed to, really. But he won £250,000 and I absolutely loved watching him. 2 years later, he got beat ahead by Balthasar King in the same race.
Hey guys, how are you? It's Daniel Hussey here from Matchbook. Not gonna lie, it's a tough decision, this Best Cheltenham Festival memory. I'm going to side with 2017 and what is commonly known nowadays as Ruby Thursday. So it was my 3rd year actually going to the festival with University College of Dublin. So really fun student trip. 2017 for Willie Mullins and Ruby Walsh. First 2 days, 0 winners. York Hill was the banker of the meeting, let's say, in the preview circuit. And basically there was talk, is the Mullins team out of form? I just remember that race in particular, the silence of the crowd as York Hill went around there, literally last all the way around with Ruby Walsh, the quirky horse we all knew, so everyone's watching every jump intensely. He brings him beautifully on the inside, gets through and sort of scrapes the rail and has to re-get him again, and it was just a classic Ruby Walsh ride. And obviously, as everyone knows, Ruby and Mullins ended up with a 4-timer with York Hill, Undeso, Nicholas Canyon at like 10-1 in the stayers, and then Let's Dance absolutely scooted in. So I decided to be right at the front near the finish line for Let's Dance and clapped Ruby home for that 4-timer. I just think that's peak Cheltenham and it doesn't get any better than that.
Hi lads, my favourite Cheltenham Festival memory, going back a bit actually, going back 20 years to St Patrick's Day 2004. 2004 to the Southern Alliance chase. A lot of this is credit though to my former colleague at the time at SIS, Gary O'Brien, who's now a commentator and does great work for Racing TV. We backed a horse called Rule Supreme anti-post with the magic sign at big prices for the RSA chase. We knew he was an out-and-out stayer. His jumping wasn't brilliant, but David Casey could get a tune out of him, we thought, on the day. We backed him, I think, at 50s and 40s anti-post, but he still went off 25-1 on the day, so we thought we've not got much value here. But anyway, the race fell apart a bit. The favourites didn't run their race. Alvic, I think, was the hot favourite. Pizarro, I think, got brought down. Calling Brave with that Fixion was another one towards the top of the market. And all of a sudden, the stayer came there round the home turn. Rule Supreme, full of running. On you go, David Casey, Boir, and the rest is history. So yeah, St Patrick's Day 2004, my favourite Cheltenham memory.
One-man champion chase, Moscow Flyers champion chase successes. Going back to the halcyon days of those hurdlers rushing home from school to watch the likes of Sea Pigeon, Monksfield and Night Nurse. And from being in attendance at the Cheltenham Festival for many years now, you know, great memories of Dawn Run. But probably the one that stands out is Desert Orchid's Cheltenham Gold Cup in 1989. I was there that day. I stayed in Cheltenham overnight. Woke up the next morning. It had been snowing. It was raw. It was horrible. The weather was horrible. I remember this Irish lady asking me, do you think your Desi will win it? I said, yeah, I'm sure he will. Wasn't really sure. Conditions were against Desert Orchid. It wasn't his track. He didn't appreciate going in that direction left-handed. It wasn't his best performance, but he showed true grit, determination to repel Yahoo up the hill. As I say, wasn't his best effort, but the place erupted. So probably Desert Orchid, 1989 Gold Cup shades it for me, but there are so many great memories of great horses and great races.
Hello, Jack here, also known as Racing Interest on Twitter. My favourite Cheltenham Festival memory has to go to Monella Indo winning the Albert Bartlett in 2019. Of course, winning the Commander of Fleet, who finished second, who's also a Cheltenham Festival winner. And of course, the mighty Allaho, who's went on to win 2 Ryanairs and multiple Grade 1s. But for Monella and those sides, I think for me personally, it was my first time going to a Cheltenham Gold Cup day, and to pick up a 50-1 winner was absolutely unbelievable. It's hard enough to pick up a winner as normal, but to pick up a 50-1 winner on Gold Cup day was unbelievable, and what he's done ever since after that will always be remembered. So for me, Monella, Indo and the Alvic Bartlett.
Hi there. My favourite Cheltenham Festival memory comes in a race that might not be the most loved at the festival, but for me it holds a special place in my heart, because I am speaking, of course, of Alvic's Ryanair win. So unlucky previously at the festival beforehand, but on this day he was magnificent, and he won the first ever Grade 1 running of the Ryanair. Alvic is the horse who's still in my username. He got me into jump racing, and when he finally got his day in the sunshine at the Cheltenham Festival, I was absolutely over the moon. I remember still bunking off school a little bit to watch it, and absolutely not caring a jot what was said to me when I got back into the classroom. So Alvic, for me, in the Ryanair, that's my favourite festival memory.
Hi lads, my favourite ever Cheltenham Festival memory would have to be a recent one, and it's Honeysuckle winning the Mares Hurdle at the festival last year. The way she was coming into the race, having been beaten a couple of times that season, people were questioning whether or not she was still good enough to be winning at that level, and she proved that she definitely was. The noise around the place once she got past La Memoire in the closing stages, it was just something I've never experienced before. And then the emotion once she got the win, and just everything that happened afterwards, it was a really special moment. It was so nice to see her go out on a high after such an incredible career, and so much credit goes to Rachel Blackmore and the whole team at Henry de Bromheads. It was just such an emotional moment, and I don't think it will ever be topped. So it has to go down as my favourite ever memory. I mean, fairy tales don't happen often, and they definitely didn't with Tiger Roll being beaten the year before that, and that was so heartbreaking. But then for Honeysuckle to get that ending that she really deserved, just a few moments after Constitution Hill put in the performance of a lifetime, it was such a special afternoon, and it was a race that I'll never ever forget.
Nick Talbot here from Ursa Major Racing. I've got many memorable festival moments. You've got Kauto Star, Denman's Gold Cup, and probably one of my favourite horses of all time, Big Bucks. Being there for Honeysuckle, winning last year, was memorable, and the hairs kind of stood up with the atmosphere. Was amazing. But a moment that really stands out for me would be 2008 Masterminded's Champion Chase, where he beat Roy Poyer's Steady by 19 lengths. Probably doesn't go down as one of the all-time greats of the 2 mile division, but on that day I think any of the horses aforementioned would have struggled to beat him. It was magnificent the way he jumped, and quick and clear. So yeah, 2008 Masterminded Champion Chase. Thanks guys, hope you're well.
Hi lads, it's George Gorman here. My favourite Cheltenham Festival memory is, it's a pretty popular one, but it's got to be Denman winning 2008 Cheltenham Gold Cup. He was just magic, wasn't he? He's everything you want to see in a racehorse. Powering away from a circuit to go, jumping from fence to fence. Him, Sam Thomas, just the perfect partnership. He's just a horse you couldn't fail to love, was he? He was so tough, so difficult to get past once you let him into the lead. And yeah, no, I was the right age for it. I was about 13. I remember missing maths class to go and watch it on my phone. But yeah, no, it was Denman 100% for me is my favourite Cheltenham Festival memory.
Hi guys, I'm James Lovell from Dragonmet, and when it comes to Cheltenham memories, there's just too many to think of. Some of my favourite ones are also my most painful. Sprinter Sacre winning in 2016, the impossible dream. It was one of the most expensive results we've ever had, but to be there and be part of that was just something else. The crowd roared, we paid through our pocket, our payout queue went stretched back for miles, cost us a lot of money like I said, but sometimes as a bookie you don't mind paying to be part of history. It felt like we were part of history, done our money, we were happy to do it. Also, Listening Araska winning the Stayers Hurdle, Welsh horse, Welsh victory, I happened to back it, I cheered that all the way home. Guys, looking forward to Cheltenham this year, hope you are too.
Hi everyone, Alex here. Well, my favourite festival memories, they come from the 2019 season, and for me it's all about the Wednesday and the Thursday of that meeting. We had Altior win the champion chase on the Wednesday in very gutsy and brave fashion, followed by Tiger Roll with an easy success in the cross country. Of course, both legends of the game and both very well supported, so the crowd was abuzz that day. I thought that couldn't be beaten. It was already on a high from the Wednesday, and then the Thursday was just something else. Two favourites winning the first two races, had everyone singing, JP McManus and Barry Geraghty with a first and second race double. And that was followed up by the Dream Partnership, Frodon and Bryony Frost winning the Ryanair chase with another traditionally tough performance from the front end. And if scripts could be written, well, this would be the ending, wouldn't it? Paisley Park going on to win the Stayers Hurdle about 40 minutes later. That couple of hours on a racecourse, the buzz, the atmosphere, everyone enjoying themselves could not be matched. And for me, that's why that day in particular, but those couple of days, will always live long in the memory.